All right, good morning, everybody, and good to join you on this fabulous Tuesday morning. And greetings from Northern Michigan to wherever you are watching from. Thank you so much for joining joining me for our Power Up today. And I'm going to ask if you would to hit that share button real quick as we come together on this Tuesday. And it's a wonderful Tuesday. It is Tuesday, March 25th. Guess what that means? There are 9 months until Christmas, and we've got some snow on the ground, it's some coolness in the air, all that good stuff. And man, Christmas is just around the corner. 9 months, need to be preparing for it. Might need to go get that Christmas shopping done. Some of you might still have a Christmas tree up in the house. I don't know. Some of you might have just taken them down. Hey, it might be time to dust those things off and pull them back out. I don't know. I was out with my daughter Aaliyah this weekend, and we went to Bronner's, the world's biggest, greatest Christmas store. And we are in the Christmas spirit. Right, Aaliyah? Woo, that was not very good and off camera. Woo, not too thrilling there. And then you just saw Noelle kind of back into frame there, so that was good. So we got participation by two of my daughters today, unwillingly, but they did participate. So there you go. All right, hit the share button. We're going to get started here, and we're 9 months until Christmas Day, and excited about that. All right, let's go to Psalms. We're going to look at Psalm 61 in the book of Psalms, okay? Psalm 61. And I want to share with you one verse. This verse, I might say this every time we get together, but this verse is so encouraging and just a tremendous reminder for us as we consider just the day-to-day walk with the Lord and the day-to-day experiencing of life. Okay, so here we go. Psalm 61. We're going to focus on verse number 3. Okay, but we might have to go back up to the first two verses just to kind of get a little bit of context here. But I hope it'll be a blessing. All right, verse number 3. For thou hast been. Okay, that's past tense. For thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. Okay, thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from mine enemy. Okay, now this, I'm telling you, this is powerful. Let's go back up the first two verses, then we'll walk into verse number 3 one more time. Verse number 1, remember, this is Psalm 61, verse 1. Hear my cry, O God, attend unto my prayer. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I, for thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. Here's the reality of life, okay? And I don't want to be like a Debbie Downer here, but the reality of life is that life at times can be difficult. It can be difficult for several reasons. Sometimes that difficulty is because we've brought upon ourselves an element of difficulty because of our poor decision making. And sometimes it takes a while to get out of those circumstances in life that are brought about by that poor decision making. Okay. Secondly, those circumstances can be brought about, yes, by poor decision making, but also by sin, which would be included, I guess, in some way in that poor decision making. And we know because of sin, there are consequences because of that sin, and sometimes overcoming those consequences are difficult. And the reality is that because of sin, oftentimes our life is never the same. And so we've got to learn to live with the consequences of the poor decisions and then also from the sin. Poor decisions could be anything, life decisions, financial decisions, relationship decisions, business decisions, all of that, okay? That's sometimes we make poor decisions. That happens. And then sin, obviously another poor decision, sin, but sin is results really in negative consequences. Okay, so those are two things. And then thirdly, and this is something that we need to always be prepared for and preparing for, is sometimes God brings and allows into our life trials, which we might call sometimes difficulties in our life because they are difficult to navigate sometimes. He brings about those trials in our life to test us, to grow us, to continue to mold us into what he wants us to be. And so those trials are allowed in our life for that reason. The challenge during the trials, okay, and these are different trials. These are not self-inflicted trials, okay, because of our poor decision making. They're not self-inflicted trials because of the sin that we've allowed into our life. These are trials brought about by the Lord to grow us and to mature us. Having the proper perspective, the right attitude and spirit during those trials is very important for us. And the reason why they're important for us is because God knows what we need down the road. God sees the beginning and the end. He's there before the beginning, and he's there after the end, okay? And so God knows exactly what we need, and he's preparing us for that. And so he brings trials in our life to grow us and to continue to shape us. Now, you might be sitting here saying, okay, Pastor, that's great, and that is incredible. Thank you for that. But what does that have to do with Psalm 61 and verse number 3? This is so good. You look at the first two verses. The psalmist cries out, says, "Hear my cry, O God. Attend unto my prayer." This psalmist here is pleading with the Lord. God, listen. God, I need you. And then he says, verse number 2, "From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee." Okay, there's continued reliance upon the Lord, knowing that this individual cannot do it on his own. He needs the Lord. When my heart is overwhelmed. Have you been there to where your heart is overwhelmed? He said this, okay, he prays this, "My heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I." God, continue to lead, continue to guide. My heart's overwhelmed, but God, I know you are in control. God, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And then he goes to his past experiences, verse number 3. "For thou hast been." God, you've brought me through it before. I know you can do it again. I'm overwhelmed at the moment. God, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. God, your ways are not my ways. Your thoughts are not my thoughts. I don't understand this. I'm overwhelmed. God, lead me to the rock that's higher than I. I cannot do this on my own. He says, "For thou hast been a shelter for me." God, you've watched over me. You've protected me throughout. You've been, excuse me, you've been, excuse me again. He says, we might be a minute here. Sorry about all this. "Thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from, excuse me, from the enemy." One more. It's coming. All right. I know it's coming. It's getting interrupted. Excuse me. All right. Hopefully that's it. We'll see. Once again, thou hast been the shelter. It's all in the past. Thou hast been a strong tower. All in the past. And so the psalmist prays, says, God, you've met my needs in the past. I'm overwhelmed at the moment. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And the psalmist recognizes that, excuse me, it's all about the Lord. I want to, first of all, I want to stop sneezing, okay? Secondly, I want us to go to Romans 8 for just a minute here, okay? As we consider this, all right? Romans 8. I might be going for the record here. I don't know. Romans 8 and verse number 28, okay? Sorry about all the awkward interruptions here, okay? Romans 8, verse number 28 says this, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are the called." To them who are, man, oh man, I cannot believe this, okay? "To them who are the called according to his purpose. For whom he did foreknow, he also predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren." Okay? And so, what do we gather from this verse? Kind of tying it into Psalm 61. We know that all things work together for good. Is that true? No, that's not true. It's not true until you quantify it with this statement. And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. God takes those trials, those difficulties that we might be experiencing, he takes them, works them out for good. What is the good? That he's still working on us. He's molding us, shaping us. It says, verse number 29, for whom he did foreknow, he did also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his Son. God knows what he wants us to look like, okay? And I'm not talking like our visage right now. He knows the end. He knows the goal. He knows what he wants us to look like. He's molding us, shaping us into the image of his Son. That's what we've been predestined to as believers in Jesus Christ. And so when it comes to these trials that we experience in our life, that God allows in our life to mold us and shape us, hey, don't get angry, upset, and mad in the midst of the trial. Don't despair. Realize this, that even the psalmist says, hey, I'm overwhelmed. My heart is overwhelmed. God, lead me. Too many people, they say this, God, I'm overwhelmed. I'm out. And how many people have left? They've started coming to church, and then life gets difficult. And you know what happens? Life gets difficult, and they leave the church and say, man, I'm just overwhelmed right now. I thought this Christian life would be easier. I'm out. And a lot of people have that attitude. Hey, don't let that be you. Note this, that when you go through, and I'm not talking about a self-inflicted difficulty, okay? Self-inflicted difficulties are their own separate animal. But these trials and difficulties that God allows into our life to mold us and to shape us, hey, let's have that right response. Let's not have that response of running, but rather let's have the response of running away from God, but let's run to the Lord. The psalmist here says in Psalm 61, when my heart is overwhelmed, God, he says, lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And then he goes back to his testimony of the past. Hey, God, lead me to the rocks higher than I. You've done it before, you'll do it again. Verse number 3, for thou hast been a shelter for me and a strong tower from the enemy. Our verse for the day, Psalm 61 and verse number 3. Psalm 61, verse number 3. Hey, let's learn from it. Let's grow from it. Hey, let's not shy away from the trials. Note that God has a plan and a purpose. What's that plan and purpose? Romans 8, to conform us to the image of his Son. That's God's plan. Let's allow him to work. God has promised to never leave us nor forsake us. Let's simply trust him in the moment. All right? Psalm 61 and verse number 3 is our verse for the day. Be sure and maybe jot that down here on this March 25th, 9 months until Christmas Day. All right? Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being on today. Let me just say this. I apologize for the probably record sneezes we had there a couple minutes ago, and I apologize for that. But hopefully it didn't interrupt too much of what we were doing. Hey, that's the beauty of doing things live. Don't know when those sneezes are going to come on, and so I apologize. All right, here we go. Karen, good morning to you. Hope that you have a wonderful day. Chris, good morning to you as well. Thank you for watching. Joanne, good morning to you. Hope that you're having a great day there. David and Claudia, good morning to you both, and hope things are well for you down there in Clinton Township. Jake, good to have you on live this morning. Hope that you have a great day. Be careful out there. Dennis and Geraldine, good morning to you both as well. And then Jan, it is good to see you on here live, and I know with the time change, from when we do it, it's thrown off some people's schedules, but it's good to have you on here this morning. Jerry and Paula, good morning to you both as well. Hope that you guys have a wonderful day. And Brian and Cindy, good to have you both on. Lord bless you guys. Have a great day, everybody. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. Don't forget the week here, services tomorrow night. There's no rock ministry. We will have something for the kids and the teenagers, for those that are here. And so be planning on bringing your family and being here for that. And then also Thursday, we've got our cottage prayer meeting, and that's going to be at the Kogelman's house. And so look forward to that. That'll be at 7 o'clock. And so come on out for that. All right. Lord bless you guys. Have a great day, everybody. We'll touch base again tomorrow morning.